Good morning and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Coffee with the Principal. My name is Dr. Maribel Gavin, and I am your proud principal of Sweetwater High School. It gives me so much joy that this is now my 8th year as principal at Sweetwater High School, and many of you who've gotten to know me over the years know that I used to be a teacher here a long time ago, and before that I was a student, so I just love Sweetwater. This is certainly my home, and I appreciate your attendance at not only Coffee with the Principal, but some of our other parent meetings, and how some of you have been involved in some of our leadership groups, such as School Site Council, ELAC, Title I. Those are meetings that are coming up. And we'll be, throughout the year, letting you know about other opportunities where you can attend meetings, workshops, and then maybe take on leadership roles. So here we are on Friday, September 3rd, and we do have a few people here with us today that are going to present information. At the end of the meeting is when we traditionally have you ask any questions you have for me. But what we also like to do at Coffee with the Principal is provide opportunities where we can showcase some of the things we have on campus, some of the programs, and also be able to give you information or where you can find information throughout the year regarding Sweetwater High School. So with us today, we do have Mr. Nathan Horner. He's one of our assistant principals, and today he's going to review the Student-Parent Handbook. And this is something that is available to you online. He'll let you know where you can find it. And it is something that we sometimes edit throughout the year. This isn't something we build at the beginning of the year and we never touch it again. As we have updated information, we'll put it in the Student and Parent Handbook. So it's definitely a good resource for you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Horner. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, as Dr. Gavin said, my name is Nathan Horner. I'm one of the assistant principals here. I know that I introduced myself at the last meeting, but so my alphabet range ranges from G through M or N, I apologize. And so, of course, I'm really ready and willing to help any student that may have an issue or anything like that, or just want to come and chat with me. I love seeing kids around campus and talk with them and everything, and they're more than welcome to come and stop in and talk to me in the office as well. But yeah, today I wanted to go over the Student and Parent Handbook. I believe we do have some slides as well that we'll be going through, where I just try to give you a little bit of a taste of what the Student Handbook kind of has to offer as a resource. But I've also provided the link for you in the chat. And so as Dr. Gavin stated, this Student Parent Handbook is available to you online via the link that I just gave you, as well as a link that is on the school website. We're currently getting that link updated. And as she stated, this handbook always is constantly being updated, because we want to provide you with the most up-to-date information regarding events that are coming up, as well as contacts for staff members here on campus. And so just a really brief overview. The Student and Parent Handbook is intended to serve as a resource for you, for our entire school community. Our intent is to provide any answers to questions that you may have, to provide you with access to contact information for different staff members. I know that we have a lot of staff, and we all kind of serve different roles in terms of how we can best serve you and your students. And so we want to provide that with you so that you know exactly which resource to go to. Also, we have some great information regarding dates and events of things that are going on. And so I'll kind of show you some of those, where you can find those in the Student and Parent Handbook. But of course, it's constantly evolving. You know, we always ask too that you keep up to date on Jupiter grades and check your emails and things like that. Because, you know, things change, right? Things change. And like, for instance, you'll find in the Student Parent Handbook that we have the football game that was scheduled for today. Unfortunately, that was canceled. So there's things like that that will always be changing. And so that's communication that we'll send out in real time there. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and dive in. And I just wanted to show you some of the information as to where you can find these items. So in terms of where you can find the Student and Parent Handbook, the easiest place to be able to find it is on that Students tab up at the top corner there. I have a screenshot there, and that shows you where you can, once you're on the school website, you can click on that Students tab, and that will pull up the next page that you should be seeing. And on that lower right-hand corner, or on that right-hand side, you could see information about the library, Link Crew, Red Devils After Dark, and then Student and Parent Handbook. So that's that link that would actually take you to the PDF document. So that is the document, that PDF document. We're currently still updating, and once it's as updated as it can possibly be with all our new teachers and things like that that are being hired and all our staff members, We then send that to the district to have it translated. We want to make sure that this is translated by a trained translator to make sure that you're getting all the most accurate information. And then once that's ready to go, we'll also post a Spanish version of the PDF of that document so that we have everything ready for you to go there. So when you click on that button, you'll find a number of different things. There's a lot of information in the Student and Parent Handbook. And so I just pulled out a couple of images for you, and I think we'll get that projected there again for you. Hope I didn't accidentally click a button. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. There we go. And so there's a lot of information. Oh, perfect. So he's pulling up the actual document itself. So one of the things is the table of contents, right? So one of the first pages that you'll find in there is a table of contents. We want you to be able to navigate this document with ease so that you can find the information that you need. On page 2, which is basically one of the very first pages, is all the updated contact information. So if you're looking through and you're like, hey, I need to find out which one is my student's counselor, or who is the attendance coordinator again? I don't have their contact information. Which one is my son or daughter's assistant principal? Things like that. You can find that information very easily there on that second page. Kind of moving along here, I just wanted to show a couple of different things that we wanted to highlight. For instance, information about our after-school interventions and tutoring. Also, the course selection process. We know that these are common questions that you may have from your counselors and things like that. And so just so you know exactly, what kind of things that we have on offer here at school, and then what that course selection process looks like. And of course, we have that contact information for your students' counselors, so you know who to reach out to for those things. We can go ahead and skip ahead there. Some of the different things that we have in the student handbook includes information about attendance. So we have information about our attendance policies, the expectations that we have as a school site. Also, a lot of information about, kind of what the state's requirements are for attendance, just to make sure that that's clear. And that can also be information that you can utilize when talking to your students about that, or if you have questions about students' attendance and those expectations. Also, too, we always want to highlight for our students the expectations that we have in terms of conduct, the Red Devil Way in conduct. That includes information about the dress code and things like that. And so just to make sure, our policy or our way of approaching it is we want to make sure that our expectations are clear, because we can't expect our students to be able to follow expectations that we haven't communicated to them, right? And so that's what this handbook does. It makes our expectations clear to both our students and to you as parents. And so information about the dress code is in there. Also, the way that students are to conduct themselves while here on campus. Those are the big pieces that we always want to include in there, and that we're constantly updating just to make sure that that language is as clear as possible for our students. And just so that you're aware as well, not only are we putting this information in this student and parent handbook, but we're also making, as an administrative team and other staff members here on campus, we have video announcements that we make. And so we have it's part of our after school program. We have an awesome media team here, so we can film those announcements, and we're putting those out as regular reminders to our students. And a lot of those are actually pulled directly from the student and parent handbook, some of those reminders. So one other piece that I really wanted to highlight is that we really want your students to get plugged in, right? We want them to get plugged in, to get connected to our school campus. And one of the best ways to do that is to get involved. And so through our ASB, our ASB has a lot for our students, our associated student body. Not only do they plan the assemblies and they run they have a huge hand in sports and things like that, but also clubs. And so I know, especially with, the distance learning that we went through and everything like that, I know it can be difficult for students to get back and feel connected to their school site and also other students on campus. And so I'd really encourage your students to look out for those opportunities to get connected to school, whether it's joining a club, whether it's joining, drama, whether it's joining a sport, just getting involved in a performing arts, or getting involved in athletics, getting involved in a club. That's a great way. It's really the best way that I can think of for students to feel connected to their school, and then to build those connections with other students on campus, and then also staff, right? it's amazing to see the relationships that our students have with their athletics coaches, that they have with their VAPA teachers and VAPA advisors and things like that. So just wanted to provide that for you. There's more information about clubs on our school website, but certainly that's a great way to look at it through is the ASB section of the Student and Parent Handbook. Also too, just want to provide this for students and parents. It's a map of our school. It also provides the, this happens to be our evacuation route. So while we don't necessarily expect, these are all posted in our classrooms. So in the event of a drill or an actual evacuation, they would have those handy and ready for them. So we don't expect that they'd pull it up on their laptop or something, the handbook. But this is more intended too, so that they have that map, especially for the first couple of weeks of each semester where they might have some classes that they're, oh, where's that 600 building again? That they have this as a resource so that they can look at that. Absolutely. These might be really, really useful to you. I know that, one of the questions that we get oftentimes is, what's the pro hour schedule again and things like that. And so we have important dates to remember here. Just days where we may have a minimum day for the PLCs. Days where we may have a holiday like we have on Monday, so no school on September 6th. You can see that in the upper right hand corner there. And then also days where we have assembly schedules, things like that. And also, Eric, if you don't mind jumping back one page there, these are the different bell schedules that we have in place. So if you are trying to remember what time does my student get out on those PLC days, or the assembly days, they still end at 2:38, but it's nice to know, for students as well, what those class periods look like. So these are all just resources for you and your students, just so that we're all on the same page, so that we're all aware. And then kind of finally, one of the last things that we can kind of go through, well, there's one more thing after this, is the master monthly calendar. So Miss Morris, our ASB, our assistant principal of student activities, does an amazing job of putting this together for us. Now, while it's not all encompassing, because certain things will come up throughout the year, of course, or things may change, it is, she's really provided for us kind of an overview of the year, of some of the different things that may be taking place. So starting with the first day of school on July 21st, looking at laptop distribution, the first PLC day, things like that, senior assembly there, you can see on July 26th. And we have this filled out from July of 21 all the way through June of 22, so that it basically catches all of those days, so that we are aware of when those final exams take place and everything like that. So certainly as you're, and we maybe this is a section of the handbook that you may want to print out, or if you may want to kind of look at those kind of important dates and maybe plug them in on your own calendar that you have for your household there. So you can see that there's, thank you for running through those. It has everything from when our President's Day weekend is, spring break. So I think that's a really, really great resource for our community, so that we're all aware of those pieces. Absolutely, including senior finals. And then the final thing that I just wanted to go over there with you as well, and thank you so much. I know that this is a group that of parents that are very much committed to Sweetwater and want to be a part of the community, and we so appreciate that. And so at the end of the document, we have what we call the parent involvement policy, and it just provides you. It's just all about kind of bringing us all together, right? And letting you know of some of the different things that we offer throughout the year to keep us engaged. And then also too, it's a question that we get asked is, how can I be involved in my students' education? How can I help out Sweetwater High? And so we wanted to provide this for you. As it says there, we view parents as equal partners in the education of their children, and that is so true. I'm a parent myself, and I recognize that it really is that partnership between the school and home. And that really is where we see our students flourish, is where we can come alongside them on both sides, from the school side and the home side, and provide those resources and support for our students. And we so greatly appreciate your hand in that. And we recognize just you being here and attending this meeting speaks volumes about the dedication that you have to your students' education. So we thank you for that. And when you get a chance, this is certainly a document that we ask that you look through, just so you can be in the loop, and also to see different ways that you can support your student and support Sweetwater High. Absolutely. So hopefully that's a nice little overview of the Student and Parent Handbook. Just wanted to pull out a couple of items just to highlight what the student handbook has to offer, student and parent handbook has to offer. And certainly, I can answer a few questions. I know we have the question and answer time at the end, but if there's a real quick question for the good of the group, I'd be happy to answer that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. Now we can jump. I see you're also presenting on Google Classroom and Jupyter Grades, another great wealth of information to share with our parents.
Yes, absolutely. So, we've been utilizing Jupyter Grades as a school site for quite a while, and I have to say I'm a huge fan of Jupyter Grades. Jupyter Grades is a great way for your student and you to be just basically in the loop with your teachers. For those of you that are very familiar with it, at a very basic level, it's almost like you're able to see the teacher's grade book in a public way, or not public, but shared with you. So you can see exactly the assignments that your student has been assigned, the grades that they've received on those. And really, when you kind of dive more into Jupyter Grades, it has a lot of functionality that I think is a huge benefit to parents. You can set it up so that it notifies you every Friday. It sends you a little short report about how your student's doing in class. You can also set it up so that anytime your student misses an assignment, it can notify you. Some of you might be like, I don't want all those notifications. So you can certainly tailor it to how you want it to be. But it's a huge benefit to us as a school site and as a community to once again make sure that everybody's on the same page and have those lines of communication. So in a moment, I'm going to kind of take you through making sure how you get set up on Jupyter Grades, but also one of the newer kind of pieces that we're seeing school-wide. Some of our teachers have been using Google Classroom for a while, but one of the silver linings, shall I say, of the distance learning is that we have a lot more investment now into Google Classroom. A lot of our teachers, out of necessity, right, with distance learning, built these great Google Classrooms where it has all these resources for students, and they have all their information tied in there and assignments coming through. And so in addition to Jupyter Grades and Infinite Campus and some of these other things that we're seeing here, which I want to talk about this in just a moment, Google Classroom is kind of a newer one to the fold that you probably saw last year in distance learning. And so we really want to make sure that everybody's just kind of aware of the platforms that we have here for technology, and making sure that parents are also being able to access. So really quickly, this is the quick student login cheat sheet that we've developed. It's to ensure that students all know how to access these different platforms and what the generic username and passwords are. So the biggest piece, and this has become even more important since we went through this distance learning phase, is we really want students to really be linked into their school email. So all students in the Sweetwater Union High School District are provided an @sweetwaterschools.net email address. And it's really important that they continue to constantly check that. And to be honest, we've actually seen students using that a lot more after distance learning. So that's once again another small silver lining that we're seeing from all that, is that students now recognize how important technology is in our daily world. And so in order to access any computer or app or website on their school laptop, they would utilize their school email, and their 8-digit birthday is the generic password. Same thing with their Google Drive account. They're provided a Google Drive account that's tied to that Sweetwater Schools account. So it's the same login and password there. For Infinite Campus, students utilize their ID number and their 8-digit birthday. And then for Jupyter Grades, students utilize either their name or their school ID number, and then they set up that password. So they're provided a temporary password, and then once they provide that, they can reset that to something that they of their own choosing. So certainly we want to make sure, and then in a moment here, I'll kind of walk you through as on the parent side to make sure that you're able to get connected to Jupyter Grades. Perfect. So here regarding Google Classroom, so here's some general information for all courses. So a couple of things, and once again, as a result of distance learning, a lot of our teachers are continuing. In fact, we're asking all of our teachers to continue to utilize Google Classroom so that students, even if they're out, to go to, if they have to go out of town for a day or whatever it may be, or if they happen to catch a cold or something like that, that they can stay up to date with their classes. And so your students are logged in. We provide them with a code. They can look for things like the classroom syllabus is provided there. This is where a lot of their work is assigned, so they can access that. And then they can also turn in those assignments into Google Classroom and see how it's monitored and see what score they get. But also too, just to be clear, teachers always post that into Jupyter Grades as well. And so as long as you're connected up to Jupyter Grades, you'll be able to see those grades being posted there. Okay, perfect. So here's a great example from our old SIS coordinator, Ms. Cuellar Martinez. So this is an example of what it looks like on the student side there as they're looking at a Google Classroom. You can see information at the top regarding which class it is, what period they meet, and then information like, this was especially important during distance learning, a Meet link for any virtual meetings. And you can see along the top there, we have the stream, which is like general announcements that the teacher can make. It could even be something about, hey students, reminder that on Friday we have a quiz, make sure you study chapter 4, something like that, right? On the classwork tab that's right next to that, you could see where assignments would be posted. And then people just shows the teachers in the class and then the students. And then in grades, that's where you could see actually those assignments that the student has turned in. You could see if there's assignments that are missing, and then also what grades that they've received on those assignments that they did complete and submit. So just a nice little overview there of what that looks like. Okay, perfect. I think go to the next page here. Yes, and so for students to be able to view their work, and this is something that we really put together as well for students when they were first kind of getting used to working with Google Classroom. And so for them to be able to view their work, check on their work prior to the progress report. We always want to remind students, especially when progress reports are coming out and things like that, of that information. And then if an issue comes up during the semester, please reach out via Jupyter Grades or email the teacher. So we always want to make sure students are have those lines of communication so they know how to communicate. And through Google Classroom and through Jupyter Grades, they can have that direct line of communication with their teachers. Okay, perfect. We can go ahead and go to the next slide there, Mr. Hernandez. Okay. And Mr. Hernandez, if I could go ahead and just share my screen really briefly. There is one document that I did want to show that that walks parents through how to access Jupyter Grades. So I'm hoping that you can see that. There's an ad blocking here. I apologize for that, but this is how parents are able to make sure that they can get access to Jupyter Grades. And so, you know, Jupyter Ed is the name of the website, but I always tell parents the easiest way is honestly to use Google, right? But certainly here's the website right here, login.jupytered.com. That would take you directly to the page, or you can search Jupyter Grades and it will pull up. You know, zoom in here just a little bit. I'll try to. And so when you do pull up Jupyter Grades, to make sure that you can access on your side, we have the parent tab. So here it says student, here it says parent, and then we have some others for TA and staff and things like that. That's where you click on parent. You could type, that's where you type in your student's name. You can also type in your student's ID as well, but student's name, of course, you know, I'm sure is a lot more easily to access than their ID number if you're not aware. And then there's a temporary password that we provide with our parents. It's randomly generated through Jupyter Grades. And then that's where you can then, it will ask information about what the school is. So make sure that we're getting the right student, you know, because of course there may be multiple Nathan Horners at different schools. So we plug in Sweetwater High, National City, California, to make sure that we get the right Nathan Horner as the student there. And then once you get all plugged in, this is kind of a little view of what Jupyter Grades does look like for the parents. And so you can see when your student's page loads, you can see how they're doing overall in their classes. And then when you click on those classes, it will actually pull up the individual assignments to show, okay, great. So they're getting an 87.8 in AP Human Geography. Let's go ahead and click on that. And we'll see if they're missing any assignments or how they did on that last test. And it will show, hey, they got a 46 out of 50 on their last test. Hey, good job, 92%. That's awesome. So, and also I can, I'll go ahead and grab this link. it's a little tutorial on how to navigate Jupiter grades. So I'll grab this link and I'll put that in the chat as well. That's a nice resource for you as you're trying to learn how to utilize Jupiter grades and looking for other tips there. And then for any additional support, we do have our student program facilitator who actually put together this document, which is Denise Iniguez. I know she usually attends these meetings, I know, but she was unable to attend today. But we have her information here as well. So if you have any questions regarding that, also too, your students' counselors, your students' teachers oftentimes can assist as well, just making sure that we get those temporary passwords and things like that. But Denise would be a great, go-to resource for you for any questions regarding Jupiter grades. So at this time, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I will try and get this, here we go, get this link, and I'll put that in the chat. Are there any quick questions that I can answer? Once again, I know we'll have the question and answer time at the end, but just wanted to see if there's any questions I can answer at this time.
You had one at the earlier with Anna, how can I get my password? I don't know if you answered that.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so our staff on our side, like Miss Iniguez, she can go in and actually pull up your student's name, and then it has a temporary password. It's usually like 4 or 5 digits. And so if you reach out to Miss Iniguez, she can provide that temporary password for you. And then once you get logged in with that temporary password, you can then reset it to something that you will actually remember, right? Perfect, thank you. So we have the phone number. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez, phone number, and Ms. Iniguez's email as well there to provide assistance with that. Any other questions I can answer at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Horner. And if at any time you forget who you're supposed to call to get or email, you forget that it's Denise Iniguez, and not just regarding Jupiter grades, but any questions or doubts you may have, feel free to call the school. And whoever answers the phone in the front office, let them know, I have a question about this. They'll say, okay, this is the person that can answer your question. They'll connect you to that person. So I know this is a lot of information, and we don't expect you to memorize who takes care of what and who can assist you, but Denise's email and phone number, direct phone number are listed there. So please, make sure you access it. But if you forget and you still need help with Jupiter grades, just call the main office. Let them know I need someone that can help me with Jupiter grades, and they'll connect you. So I do want to remind everyone, and the link was put in the chat, and maybe we can put it on again because I know we've had other things that have been posted in the chat. But if we could please have you all sign in, the link was shared. All you have to do is click on the link that's in the chat for attendance, and then if we can have you sign in, that way we want to capture everyone that's here today and make sure that we have your contact information. So I know it was just added right now in the chat. You can click on that link, sign in, and that way we know and have a record of everyone that's here today. Thank you all again for your attendance. Next, we have our head counselor, Mr. Marco Garcia, another proud graduate of Sweetwater High School, who's going to give us an update on our counseling center. Mr. Garcia.
That is correct. A proud graduate. I graduated from here several years ago, but I am happy to be home. So yes, from the counseling department, we continue to work daily with our students in transitioning back after 16 months of, being home. So working with all seniors, presenting to all economics and government classes, and making sure seniors get all the information that they need as they're embarking on this final year, which is ultimately leading up to graduation. And in your senior year, as you guys know, there's a lot of information that seniors need to know. It can be a little overwhelming. There's a lot of dates, there's a lot of deadlines, and that's really what senior year is all about. Talking about community service, talking about financial aid, talking about credits, we talk about college, community college. So there's a lot of information. So that's what we're doing this week with all of our seniors. We are also gonna meet with our 9th graders as soon as we get back from as soon as we get back from the fall break. We're going to meet with all ninth graders and work on what we call either the 4-year or the 6-year plan. You may hear 4-year or 6-year. When we refer to it as 6-year, that's because we're including 7th and 8th grade. But it's really the plan that we create with our students as far as all their years in high school and what they're going to do, classes they're going to take, just so that students are in control of their educational experience while they're here in high school. So we're going to be working with all ninth graders as soon as we get back from the fall break. Currently, we're also setting up credit recovery. So as you guys know, these last 16 months, students were home. A lot of students did struggle academically. There was a lot of D's and F's and NCPs that came about, this time that we were home. So credit recovery is going to start on September 13th, and this is an opportunity for all of our students to start to make up and recuperate some of those classes that they may have failed or received a D. So that link went out to all students yesterday. So please ask your child about the link. Ask them if they need credit recovery, if they feel they do need credit recovery, and students know if they failed a class or not. Sometimes we ask students, do you need credit recovery? They're like, I don't know. I think they do know. I mean, you either know if you failed a class or not. So talk to your students about that if they really don't know, and if there's really some confusion as to if they need to take credit recovery or not, have them come talk to a counselor and we'll let them know. So credit recovery does start on the 13th and runs through November 12th, and the link is out so students are able to enroll in that as of now. And just the last thing that I want to point out that the counseling department is seeing, I know administration is seeing this, and I know teachers are seeing this. I think everybody's seeing this, is really the effects that came about from this past year and a half that we've been home, the pandemic, COVID-19, and how that impacted everybody on a social emotional level. And I'm not talking just students, because it definitely impacted adults and staff as well. But we just want to let you guys know that the Counseling Center continues to support our students. If your student is having a hard time, if your child is having a hard time with something, we're seeing a lot of anxiety, we're seeing a lot of depression, we're seeing a lot of issues that are happening in the classroom that later leads to behavior issues. So if there's anything that you guys need support in terms of social emotional help, please send them down to counseling, or parents, please feel free to reach out to us counselors. So that's really what's going on right now. The last thing I want to leave you guys with is please feel free to reach out to us if there's any questions in regard to any of these things I just mentioned, or anything else for that matter. I'm going to put our website in the chat in a second. And if you go to our website, SUHIcounseling.com, all of our contact info is there. Thank you. You guys have a great Friday.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. So again, if you do visit the Counseling Center website, again, a lot of information there. And they update it. It's not the same information throughout the year. You'll see different updates there throughout the year. And again, just like we've said for all of our presenters, and any questions you may have, don't wait until the next coffee with the principal or feel like you have to wait for another formal meeting. Please contact, like Mr. Garcia said, contact your student's counselor if and when you have any questions or doubts. That's what we're here to do. We're here to serve you. All right. Before we go on to our Parent Center updates, I do want to remind everyone, and you may have already filled it out, which if you did, great. You may have had your student come home with a form. It's called the household income form. And it kind of took the place of the lunch application. So I'm not sure if you're all aware, but all students this year all qualify for free lunch and breakfast. So all students during nutrition break get breakfast and they get lunch. And for those that stay in our after school program, they also get supper. So all students qualify for free food on campus throughout the day. But very important that we have the household income form completed by all parents, because even though everyone qualifies for lunch, free lunch, we still need to understand and capture the household income in order to get our Title I funding. So that funding is based on our family's household income. And that's where we get federal and state monies to help our students in the classroom, help our teachers in the classroom. So it's very important everyone completes it. So this form is not necessarily for your student to qualify for lunch or not. It's for them to be able to get these resources here on campus. So please make sure you fill out the form. I know a hard copy was sent to your home this week. We gave it out to your student during period 3, and they should have given it to you. So if they haven't given it to you, please ask them for it. They did get it during period 3. We have sent emails, reminders via Infinite Campus. And then we also did email the Google form if you want to complete it online. So you have an option to either complete it online, or you can fill out the hard copy. And it's 2 very simple questions. It'll take you about 20 seconds to fill out. And it's very simple. It's how many adults and children are in your household? So you just write that number in. And then what is the income for your household? You write that in, and that's it. Send it back with your student or email it back to us, and we'll make sure that we submit it. And again, this all goes toward our funding. And even though all students qualify for free lunch throughout the day or free food throughout the day, especially students that are in AP classes and are going to be taking their AP exams later this school year, this is what's going to be used to determine if they'll get the reduced cost, I believe, of $10 per test, as opposed to $90 per test. So please make sure that you submit that form so that your students also, especially those in AP classes, will qualify for the reduced cost. And I see here that those of you who submit your attendance for today, also you see here the form is being used. Is this a link that's being shared in the chat?
No, this is just an example of what it will look like.
Oh, the electronic form?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, we emailed the electronic form. So Mr. Hernandez is sharing what you'll have to complete. It's very simple. So you just, write the number of people, of adults and children in your household, and then your total monthly income for that household. And then you just type your name. That'll serve as your electronic signature, basically that you're verifying this information is true. So very simple. And then you just, there's some information there for you, but you submit and then you're done. And if for every person or every family we don't get this back from, we will be reaching out to you. So to stop the emails or phone calls, if you can please make sure that you fill it out, and we greatly appreciate it. Again, this is how we get our funding. All right, now we're going to move on to our Parent Center updates. We have Ms. Alma Martinez, who has information to share with you about our Parent Center.
Hi, good morning again. My name is Alma Martinez. I'm the CRF. I'm in charge of the Parent Center, and I coordinate parent meetings, parent volunteers, and parent workshops. So for this month, we're going to have, let me share with you some few meetings. So we have Tuesday, September 7th, we are going to have what is ELAC. So everybody, please go to this meeting, because maybe you are in this program, your kid is in this program, and you don't know. So this is a great opportunity to learn what is ELAC and to know if your kids is in the program. And we have a WAS presentation Wednesday, September 8th at 10 a.m. Parent safety meeting Thursday, September 9th at 10 a.m. and counselor chats Wednesday, September 15th. This one is going to be with counselors, our counselors, and it is going to be like just a conversation, so you can ask whatever you want. And the last one is ELAC in Title I, Friday, September 17th at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. So I will put this information in the chat. So please take maybe a screenshot and keep it with you. We also send reminders, so check your emails. And the other thing that I want to tell you is all these meetings, you use the same link that you use for Coffee with the Principal. you will use it for this meetings that I mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. So that's very convenient. We only need to use this one link to access all of the meetings, either with chat with a counselor or with Title I ELAC meetings. And then, Ms. Martinez, will these dates also be email and times be emailed to parents as a reminder? Like all?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll also get an email reminder in case you weren't able to note them here. So you'll get a reminder regarding chat with the counselor, Title I, ELAC, and the safety meetings. So I know a lot of you may have questions about school safety, and these are great opportunities for you to get a lot of your questions answered or express any concerns you may have. We're, again, here to serve you, and we want to make sure that if you're not able to attend these meetings, you know you can reach out to us, but going to the meetings is just a great way to not only ask your questions, but listen to what other parents' questions are and what they have to say. It's just a great place to get to know each other also and hear what other people are thinking as well. Now, I did see a question in the chat regarding community service hours, and I do want to remind everyone, you may have seen this or maybe we haven't pushed it out enough, but community service hours for this year's graduating seniors, the class of 22, are no longer required. So if your student is graduating in June of 2022, they're a senior this year, they do not have to submit community service hours. Now for next year's class, for juniors or lower, that hasn't been determined yet. What I think might happen because of the pandemic, because typically we require 30 hours as community service to be able to graduate from high school, is hopefully if the pandemic is over at some point this school year, this year's juniors and on, they may have to do a portion of the 30 hours, but I don't know yet. And that won't be determined until next year. But for this year's seniors, they don't have to submit any community service hours. So I know that was a question. And I know we're getting into the question and answer session for Coffee with the Principal. Let me see if I can turn on my lights again in the office. There we go. You can always put your questions in the chat or you can unmute. That's probably easier because I want to make sure I don't miss them in the chat. And again, like Mr. Tom said in the chat, if you already completed the household income form, you don't have to fill it out again. So if that was already submitted, don't worry about it. We just sent it home with everyone, but you don't have to do it again. And then Alma did put in the chat all the information she went over regarding the ELAC meeting, the WASC presentation. I hope you can attend that. Parent safety meeting, counselor chats. I mean, lots of meetings there, and you don't have to attend everyone, but if you do, maybe we'll give you some bonus points or some reward for being such an active participant. And then of course, Alma did write her email and direct phone line. So if you have any questions for her, she also is a great source of information. And if she, for some reason, can't answer your question, or it's best if you talk to an AP, a counselor, a Miss Iniguez, because you need help with Jupiter grades, she can direct you to that person. But Alma, she's probably one of the best people you can reach out to, so she can provide any assistance. And again, if you haven't done so, because I know some of you arrived late, if you can make sure that you click on the link she provided to sign in for today's meeting. We want to make sure we have accurate attendance for everyone that is here today. And we'll go ahead and now see if any of you have any questions. So this is our question answer session. Are there any questions from our parents before we close? Again, you can put them in the chat or you can ask. También, si tienen preguntas, pueden preguntar en español.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
¿Cómo está, doctora?
Muy bien, gracias.
Qué bueno. Tengo una pregunta. ¿Ustedes tienen el perfect attendance?
Okay, so the question is if we have perfect attendance, if that's something that we're giving out to students. So yes, we are encouraging for students to come to school every day, but the difference this year is that there are students that may not qualify for perfect attendance, and not because they were sick or because they chose to stay home or decided to not come to school because they didn't feel like it. But as you know, we frequently send out notices to our families letting you know that unfortunately we had a COVID positive case on campus and that your child may have been a close contact because they were sitting close to that individual in class. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they need to stay home, or we're saying that if they have any symptoms in the past, if they had a little cough or a little sniffle, they said, oh no, I can still go to school, I'm okay. Now, if they have a cough, a sniffle, they're sneezing, they have a stomach ache, they're not feeling well, we're telling them, whether you know it's COVID or not, you have to stay home. You cannot come to school. So this year, it looks like we may not be giving out the perfect attendance awards because a lot of our students are having to stay home, but it's not their fault. We're making them stay home. We're telling them they have to stay home for their own safety and health and for the safety and health of everyone else on campus. So at this time, we are not promoting perfect attendance, although we do ask our students to attend school every day if they're feeling okay. Come to school, because when you miss school, you miss out. You get behind on your work. You miss out on the instruction the teachers are giving in class, and you may fall behind a little bit. So we do encourage students to attend school, but as far as perfect attendance, what I was hearing is that some students, because they have perfect attendance, even if they were feeling a little under the weather, they were still trying to come to school. We're telling them, no, don't come to school, stay home. So we don't want to send mixed messages. This year, our safety and health is a priority.
Okay, gracias.
Gracias, señora.
Tengo otra pregunta.
Sí, ajá.
Sí, acerca de los grados, ¿van a tener como reconocimientos si los niños tienen buenos grados?
Sí. So the question is regarding grades. Will students be recognized for good grades? And the answer is yes. Throughout the year, either at the end of each semester, we do have the honor roll and principal's honor roll, where we run a list of all the students that either have a 3.5 to a 3.74 GPA based on good grades. That means they're on the honor roll. And students that have a 3.75 or above GPA, they're on the principal's honor roll. And then also, especially at the end of the year, we do have an awards ceremony where teachers and our administration select students who have either gotten awards for most improved. Maybe they didn't start out really well, but they've been doing better, so they're the most improved, or are in the top 10 of their class, whether they're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, or they have A's and B's. I mean, we do give out recognitions for good grades. So that is still something we plan to do.
¿Pero serían en Zoom o sería ahí en la escuela?
So the question is, when we do the recognition of students with good grades, will it be via Zoom or will it be at the school? We don't know yet. So if we're able to start hosting live in-person ceremonies, then yes, we would love to do it in person safely. But if COVID cases keep going up and it's not safe to have groups of students and parents in the gym, because that's usually where we have it, then it would be via Zoom. But it is something we do want to do. But at this point, we don't know where we would host it, because every month we get updates on what we're able to do and not to do. So for right now, they said that we shouldn't be having in-person ceremonies or gatherings of community members and students, like in the gym or even outside, not having too many people. But after the fall break, depending on what happens between now and October, we'll see if it's something we can slowly bring back. But once we determine the date that we're going to have these presentations, we will let you know if it's going to be in person or via Zoom.
Ok, porque creo que es importante que los reconozcan, ¿no? Que aunque sea les manden un diploma, algo, ¿no?
Yes, so Parent is saying that it's important we recognize our students for their good efforts, and I agree. We will continue to recognize our students, whether it's in person or virtually, make sure they get a certificate, something that recognizes them. And if we're able to present it to them in person, or we can record something where we read their name and create a video that we can push out to everyone, we can do that.
O hasta una gift card, aunque sea de $5 del Jamba You.
Yes, if we can try. Sometimes we don't have funding like to give gift cards or prizes, but if we can get donations or try to get some of those gift cards, we can try to do that.
Ok, muy bien. Ok, muchas gracias, doctora.
Gracias.
Buen día. Bye.
Buen día. Are there any other questions?
There are some questions in the chat, Dr. Gavin.
Okay. If someone can help me out, because sometimes my little scrolling here, I want to make sure I don't miss any questions. I'm not sure how many more came through. Let me see here.
I think it's right under Carmen Gutierrez. I think that's the first question. From
Right.
Marlene.
Again, I'm trying, my scroller is very sensitive, so I keep going up and down. Let me try to find it here. Okay, so there's a comment there. Okay, so in regards to more students that were being notified are COVID positive. So whenever we have any one person on campus that has been deemed COVID positive, then we do need to notify everyone from the school, all of our parents. So not just the close contacts. Now, if your student is deemed a close contact, you'll get a direct message, but the letters we send home to everyone, that's because somebody on campus had it. If you don't get a specific phone call or email regarding your son or daughter being a close contact, that means they were not. But that is something we continue to work on, is making sure that all students wear their masks, and they do. They're pretty good about wearing their masks indoors. Right now, wearing it outdoors is optional, but we do ask students, especially when they're outside for lunch, because we have a lot of students on campus. So we tell them that when they're outside at lunch and they're sitting close to someone, they can remove their mask to eat. But once they finish eating, they really need to put their mask on. And actually today I'll be pushing out another video demonstrating to students how to properly wear their mask. Because sometimes they might wear it under their nose, and we tell them, no, it needs to be over your nose and mouth. That's how you properly wear it. And reminding them that before they walk into a building or a classroom, they need to put it on. They can't go into the classroom or go into a building and then look for their mask in the backpack. They need to put it on before they walk in. So we're constantly reminding them, but I see the majority, most, if not all of our students wearing it when you drop them off in front of the school, or I see them walking up to the school. I know some of you see me outside greeting students. I see them already wearing it. They don't wait until I remind them. So it's great that I know that's because you as parents are reminding them to, hey, take your mask. It's part of their backpack supplies, right? Their notebook, pen, pencil, their laptop, and your mask. So it's always making sure they bring that to school. So I appreciate you reminding them. And we do tell them, remind them about the protocols on campus, not only wearing their masks, but trying to stay distant. You know, what happens is they get very familiar and they feel very comfortable with friends, because in their mind, they think, well, this is my friend. They don't have COVID. It's okay. But you don't know. And the thing is that someone might be contagious before they have any symptoms themselves. So that's why we tell people, protect yourselves. Don't assume that the person next to you is okay. Just because they're not coughing or sneezing or they look okay, doesn't mean they don't already have it. A lot of times it's contagious before someone already has any symptoms. So it's making sure that that they hear it, not only here at school, but they also hear it at home as far as how to protect themselves. Let me see, let me try to go through the scroll here. And again, if you have any questions or comments, if you don't mind unmuting, that's probably the easiest and quickest way, because I'm trying to go through the comments here, and sometimes my scroll is very sensitive and I don't want to accidentally skip someone. So there's another comment about students needing more space during class and in the cafeteria. So in the cafeteria right now, that's not open right now. I mean, because it's indoors and then people would have to take off their masks to eat. So students are having to eat outside. In the classrooms, again, because we have a lot of students here, we don't have more classrooms or more buildings where we can spread out our students, which is why it's even more important that they always wear their mask in class and not take them off. Now, if a student needs a mask break, they say, you know what, I need some fresh air. They tell their teacher and they go outside, they take off their mask, they get some fresh air, then they put it back on and go back in the classroom. So we understand sometimes the student will need that fresh air, and we'll give them that time to do it, but they cannot take off their mask inside the classroom. And again, I'm recording a video today that's going to play on next week's news reminding students about that. But again, your children have been so good about it. Really proud of them. Let's see, let me go to the next question. So someone made a comment that the parents having her children get COVID tested, sometimes as much as twice a week, just to make sure that they're okay and that they're not accidentally going to school. I go get tested once every 2 or 3 weeks. I have my vaccine. I don't have any symptoms. Sorry, that's the bell. But I still go get tested just in case, just to make sure. And then let's see, let me go to the other question. Okay, so there's a comment there that someone's daughter was moved to another class, but the teacher gave them an F because they were new to the class and didn't give the opportunity to make up assignments. So I always recommend, if you haven't already, that you contact the teacher directly. Sometimes that's just miscommunication or an oversight, but I recommend that you contact your daughter's teacher directly. Now, if the teacher says, I'm sorry, but they have an F, they didn't turn in their assignments, but they came from another class, they should have either had a transfer grade or the teacher should give them time to make up that grade. Now, if you communicate with the teacher and you're not able to get the answer you need or resolve the conflict, then you can contact your student's assistant principal in the main office. Again, you can call the school and ask to speak with the assistant principal for your daughter, and then we can help. Sometimes it's just miscommunication, and we can help with the teacher to make sure that your daughter is given the opportunity to get a better grade in the class. Now, progress report cards come out today. And so when you check your students' grades, if you have any questions, concerns, please make sure you reach out to the teacher. This is a 6-week progress report. And it's still early in the semester, but we need to make sure that if there are any conflicts or concerns, we address them immediately. Don't wait until the end of the semester when it's too late. We want to try to address them right now. Let's see, let me go on to any other questions. Are there any other questions? ¿Hay más preguntas? Y como les digo, si pueden hablar o hacer su pregunta, es un poco más fácil. Y si todavía no han firmado para...
Sí, oyen, disculpe.
Oh, sí. Señora Delgado.
Oh, buenas tardes, buenos días, perdón, Miss Gaby, ando trabajando, perdón. Lo que pasa, mi pregunta es lo siguiente. Mi hijo le pasó que cuando se hizo la prueba le dio mucha alergia y estuvo 2 días de estornude. Yo sé que es necesario que lo hagan para saber si lo tienen, pero a él le causa una alergia y están teniendo ahorita con mis topetes, están teniendo muchas actividades de que necesitan tenerlo frecuentemente el examen. ¿Cómo me puede dar alguna idea de cómo hacerle con ese detalle? Gracias.
Ok, usted dice que su hijo
Se desconectó del Wi-Fi. Aquí no hay muy buena recepción.
Oh, perdón, sí, pero quería entender su pregunta. Usted está diciendo que su hijo frecuente le estamos exigiendo que se haga el examen, pero de veras es porque sufre de alergias.
Sí, el detalle es que van a ocuparlo más frecuentemente el examen porque pues van a salir con eventos y ocupan pues estar seguros de que no tengan COVID cuando van hacia algunos eventos. Entonces, a él le está causando alergia cuando se pone esta silla, aunque se la ponga para revisarle la nariz.
Ok, y sí, la conexión está un poco mala, pero si tiene preguntas más sobre si se le está exigiendo que su hijo se haga más pruebas, si puede llamar a la oficina de subdirectores y aquí le podemos dar asistencia directamente. Aquí también en el...
Yo también tengo una pregunta, disculpe.
Sí, aquí, bueno, un momento, en el chat estoy poniendo mi email y mi línea directa si tienen preguntas, porque no se puede escuchar muy bien, pero aquí estoy poniendo mi información. También pueden llamar a la escuela y si tienen una pregunta específica sobre su hijo y lo que le están exigiendo que tenga que hacer, alguien aquí puede hablar con usted más directamente sobre eso.
Ajá, lo que se refería es que la maestra les está exigiendo a los niños. Mi niña ahorita empezó de voluntaria en folclórico ahí con la maestra que había mencionado la señora Delgado. Dice que mi hija que todos los viernes se tiene que hacer la prueba de COVID y lo que yo digo, el por qué, o sea, todos los viernes y ella no va a participar, solamente está de voluntaria, pero la maestra dice que les dijo que todos los viernes se tienen que hacer la prueba del COVID. So, no sé.
Sí, so the question is that especially students that are in any sports or visual and performing arts groups like ballet folklórico, band, they have to get tested every Friday. So what we do is it's called a pool testing.
Creo que la cámara de la directora se bloqueó.
Creo que nos sacó a todos por un
Creo
rato.
que es normal, porque acuérdate que están conectados todos allí en la escuela, a lo mejor podría ser eso.
Sí, ahorita me sacó a mí y me regresó. Entonces
Ah,
puede ser que hubo
estamos todos
algo.
conectados al mismo tiempo y es más.
Yo creo que sí, la cámara creo que ya salió la directora y no, pues no me contestó mi pregunta. A ver qué pasa.
Nos sacó a todos, a mí también me sacó. Pero ya que están ahí, si pueden firmar, por favor, les envié el link y pueden firmar su asistencia los que faltan, por favor. Pero a nosotros le vamos a hacer pasar tu pregunta, sorry. ¿Ok? Hello.
Alma,
¿Usted otra vez?
Alma,
Mande.
¿por dónde mandaste la lista para firmar? ¿Por chat? Alma,
Si se desconectó, a lo mejor ya no lo ven, pero ahorita lo pongo otra vez, ¿ok?
¿y es por chat?
Sí, yo escucho. ¿Me escuchas tú?
Sí,
Ok. Ya lo volví a poner en el chat.
ok, ahorita firmo. Gracias, Almita.
Alma, ya estoy ahí yo anotada, please.
Sí.
Gracias, Almita. Es que estaba firmando la lista de asistencia, por eso no te podía contestar, pero sí te escuché. Te agradezco. Ajá.
Muy bien, y muchas gracias. Yo también les agradezco.
Alma, ya estoy apuntada, soy Mercedes.
Mercedes, yo no vi tu nombre, por eso es que lo volví a poner el link privado. Te lo envié
Alma,
privado. Mande.
Soy Ana. Hola.
Hola.
¿Estoy anotada en la lista?
Sí, Ana Ríos, sí.
Sí, Ana Ríos.
Sí.
Ah, ok. Gracias, Alma.
Nos vemos. Gracias.
¿Dónde veo el link?
¿Puedes verificar si llegó mi nombre?
Claro, ahorita veo.
Ok.
Sí, Sorina.
Gracias, Almita.
Gracias a ustedes.
Alma, soy Ceci.
Ceci, necesitas firmar, niña.
Pues ya lo estoy haciendo, pero me saca Alma del chat.
¿De verdad?
Alma, soy Mercedes, yo no sé cómo.
Nomás le hace clic al link que puse, las letras que se ven ahí azul. Ahí dice en español, y en inglés, dice que por favor le haga clic y ya nada más pone su nombre en la forma.
Ok, deja veo, si no, yo sí asistí, Alma, no sé cómo, voy a ver, tratar de hacerlo, pero a ver si puedo, ¿ok?
Alma.
Ya volvimos.
Alma.
Welcome again.
Alma.
Yes, sí.
¿Ya te llegó mi nombre?
Sí, ya.
Ok.
Gracias, Martita. So
Gracias a ti.
please, if you didn't sign in, please, can you do it? I will put again the link.
I'm ready. I'm signing.
Thank you so much.
Ok, hola Alma, ¿sí ya salí? ¿Ya mandé el de este? ¿Sí salí yo ya?
Ok, déjame revisar.
Please. Lo acabé de mandar ahorita.
Déjame.
Almita.
María Cecilia, ya estás.
Sí, gracias, Alma. Gracias.
Bye.
Almita. Yo
Mande.
también.
Carmen Gutiérrez, sí, Carmen, ya vi tu nombre.
Ah, bueno, está bueno, pues.
Gracias.
Hola.
Nos vemos pronto.
Ya nos vamos, ¿verdad?
Sí, yo creo que ya se acabó la junta, la directora ya no regresó.
Gaby está tratando de entrar por su teléfono, pero yo creo que ya.
Sí, de todos modos la junta ya se pasó. Pero muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Thank you for being here. And I think.
Ya lo envié, Alma, soy Mercedes.
Oh, hi, Mercedes. Thank you, Mercedes. Gracias.
Bye, Almita.
Bye.
Gracias y buen día.
Buen día. Have a nice day, everybody.
Happy weekend.
Oh, weekend, yes.
Sorry for this interruption, teachers.
Oops.
Please.
Don't forget to sign in, please.
For testing. Thank you so much. Please check your.
Thank you and see you in the next meeting. Bye.
Ya, Alma, ya
Estamos
paró.
nosotros nomás.
¿Ya paró el recording?
Sí, espérame, déjame. No. Espero que se haya grabado todo con eso que se cortó.
Pero se puso